if we were to respond to difficult situations with a positive or peaceful mind, there would not be problems for us. Indeed, we may even come to regard them as challenges or opportunities for growth and development. So again, maybe this is something we've heard, especially if you've been here for a while. Of course you've heard this. Maybe it's one of the first things we hear, that problems, suffering depends upon the way we're looking at things. But still, the question is, do we really believe it enough to act upon it? Like today, for example, I don't know what kind of day you've had, but I imagine it's had some problems in it. Has it? Anyone not had any problems today? And just think about those problems, and where did they come from, and where do you think they really came from? Well, obviously they came from out there, didn't they? That person was really incredibly terrible, and I'm way too busy. And there's just too much on, and I'm having to do everything, or whatever it is. This is just my life. It's awful. I mean, we do it all the time, don't we? We just naturally assume that the problem is out there. And some of us have been Buddhists for years, and we still think the problem's out there. And so, this is just, we're still in the first chapter, but it's like if we actually realized every sentence in this chapter, if we actually meditated and got deep experience of it, our lives would be very different, wouldn't they? Things went wrong, instead of automatically assuming, as usual, or whenever we have it's not even when things go wrong, it's just whenever we have an unhappy mind. Quite frankly, nothing really has to happen for us to start blaming everybody else. We just have to get out of bed in the morning and feel a bit disgruntled. It's like, whose fault is this? I know. It's their fault. Again. They're always doing this. They're horrible. We haven't even got out of bed, and we've already got some fantasy about why we feel disgruntled. It's because of someone we haven't even seen them yet. And we're doing this all the time. It's aversion. We have problems very largely because of our attachment and aversion. We don't like the feelings in our mind, and we attribute the pain in our mind to other people. It's their fault. Or the situation, the world situations. No wonder I feel so horrible. The world's in a big old mess. And it seems justified, but truth is, if we had compassion, that's not how we'd be feeling. So, I think it's really worth thinking about this problem thing, because if anything dominates our lives, it's problems, isn't it? And finding a way of understanding our problems is therefore probably the most important thing we could do, isn't it? Any spiritual path that's worth its salt is one that helps us to transform suffering and problems, because none of us like suffering and none of us like problems. And Buddha was an absolute expert on explaining how to deal with problems, both in the short term and in the long term. Getting rid of all of them eventually, but in the short term, transforming everything we meet into the spiritual path. Everything, whatever it is. Can you imagine getting to a point where you get up and things start going wrong again, but you're just incredibly encouraged by everything that goes wrong? It's like, whoa, this is brilliant. Can you imagine? This is fantastic. This is just teaching about compassion. What a teacher. This is so good. This is really helping me. I love this. More. Bring it on. Can you imagine? That's what bodhisattvas feel like. I've seen Geshe-la when things seem to have gone disastrously wrong. We say, Geshe-la, this has gone disastrously wrong. And I've actually seen him burst into laughter. I promise you. Nothing phases him. Nothing. No. He once said to me, more problem, more solution. I love that. More problem, more solution. If we actually had that mindset, what could possibly, our lives would be so productive with it. It'd be so meaningful. And we'd be able to help so many people. We'd never kind of get all caught up with ourselves and worry and anxious and discouraged. And just that whole feeling of being busy, is a problem these days for people. I think it's a problem for people. But even that we can transform. There's nothing we can't transform.